hearts. I tell you, the dragonborn comes with the boss wielding power of the ancient order. Believe, the dragonborn comes. It's an end to the evil of all Skyrim's foes. Beware, the dragonborn comes. For the darkness has passed and the legend yet grows. You'll know the dragonborn's come. I tell you, the dragonborn comes with a voice wielding power of the ancient North art. Believe, believe, the dragonborn comes. It's an end to the evil of all Skyrim's foes. Beware, beware, the dragonborn comes. For the darkness has passed and the legend yet grows. You know the dragonborn comes. Dovakin, alaksimos farin, fodain vokul, maferak hastval, arkfinoro palgran, fodnos tonsin drozan, dovakin fahin, kokal mudran.
Hello, how's it going? My name is Dylan. I also go by Twin Crows around Skyrim modding. I will be continuing on with. Here, one second. I'm just gonna move my camera just a little bit. There we go. I like it when you can see my hands too, because I do a lot of gestures. So yeah, I see a few of you guys in the chat. Thanks for coming. How you guys doing? So yeah, I'll be continuing on with building Vanua today. It's for the Beyond Skyrim project. And it's coming along. It's actually pretty far done. I'm building those last few areas, and then I am also doing building those last few areas and setting it all up. I'm going to be doing a lot of like decorations and stuff. I'm thinking of how to do the different water effects and stuff like that. But yeah, so if you've seen the last few of these, I usually start with a little bit of like kind of current event stuff for North America before I get started. And then afterwards, the relaxing content kind of comes afterwards. So I think interesting. So last stream, I was saying like modding is communism. And I've been reflecting on that a little bit. Where I live in Canada, among my friends, we use the word communism to just generally talk about organizing outside of state power. It's kind of a joke. But if you want a more specific definition of what modding would be, politically, if it was a whole country, the way it organizes is probably most similar to like anarcho-socialism. So people are cooperating. They're not controlling each other necessarily. They're not enforcing hierarchies or anything. You can come and go as you please with Skyrim modding. And we emphasize self-empowerment. So yes, my friends, modding is anarcho-socialism. As somebody who is kind of a leftist, I believe that if, you know, in terms of current events and things, I think if we're going to be looking for leadership, if we're looking for people who can guide us, the leadership is going to come from Black people. As a white person right now, my role right now is to listen, reflect, and support Black people. And I want to encourage other white people to do the same thing. One of the things that I'm doing with these streams too, if you guys are watching the Twitch, and when I upload this to YouTube, I'll also make sure that I put that link in there too. I'm trying to collect some money for Color of Change. Color of Change is a charity focused on racial justice, starting in America and hopefully more broadly. So if you are interested in kind of contributing and doing your part, you can make a donation. There's a link on my Twitch that's just kind of down below. It's just the tag down there, the Black Lives Matter tag. If you click on that, it'll bring you over to a charity donation thing. So I want to encourage you guys to do that. Make use of it. You have power. You can do these things. You can change the world. So do it. So before I get started, I want to show you guys, because I've been trying to encourage people to be a little bit more social, a little bit more political. I want to show you. This is my Twitter. So over here on my Twitter, I try to stay pretty active. I have a degree in political science, so I studied this stuff, and I'm trying to figure out how to do my part with what I've learned and stuff. And what I think I want to encourage people to do in the Skyrim community is try to use things like this more. Try to come out of your shell a little bit, engage in some social media. And one way to do that is I have my Twitter. You guys can follow me. I am @_twincrows. And then from there, if you look at who I'm following, because you can check out on anybody's profile, you can check who they're following. So you just click on that. And the best way to get started with Twitter is you find somebody who you like, who you trust, and you look at who they're following. And then you look through that and you pick a few people there. And then you see who people retweet and things like that. You try to find stuff that is relevant and important to people and stuff. But the thing that I want to encourage you guys to do, if you haven't had a lot of Black people in your life, I haven't, and I think that's a real shame. I live in Canada. I live over in Vancouver, and I just haven't been able to have as many voices from Black people as I've wanted. So one of the ways to fix that is you can go into Twitter. You can find a whole bunch of Black gamers who are playing the same games that you love and stuff, and you can follow them and figure out what they're talking about. Somebody I want to recommend. So here's Jeremiah Red. This person is pretty awesome. They made a tweet pretty recently. Don't read Marx, listen to him on audiobook while you play Civ 6 and get stoned. And I think that is hilarious and a good way to move forward. In addition to that, so yeah, I want to encourage you guys to use Twitter, and specifically to get more Black voices. And one of the things you can do, especially with like Twitter and stuff, and finding people who are like Black gamers, you can share this love for something. You have a love for games that you share, and that can bring you together. A huge part of fandom is the support that we give to each other around the things that we're fans of, and because we're fans of, we're mutual fans of some piece of media, we can use that as a bridge to support each other. So I think that's one fantastic thing that we can do. If you're into tabletop RPGs, so like for instance, like Critical Role or things like that, things you can listen to. There's a whole bunch of them that are actually like hosted by Black communities too. So take a look at that. There's some really great stuff out there. I just want you guys to know that there's things you can do, and part of showing your support for people. You can do it through donations, which is fantastic. It really materially changes things for people. But the other thing is just showing your love. Show your love for people, and make sure that they know that you support them. So on that same note, today is also Pride Month, and with everything that has been going on, I didn't get a chance to recognize that. I didn't focus on it yet, but I want to. So happy Pride Month to you guys, and girls, and whoever and however you identify. Yeah, I think, I'm just going to take a moment to recognize the place of like LGBT. within Elder Scrolls, especially in Elder Scrolls Online. There's a lot of really great progressive content, but in terms of how it's existed, it actually stretches back to Morrowind. Vivek, everybody loves Vivek. Vivek is not only gender fluid, but Vivek is also pansexual. Very, this enlightened person. Very, very interesting. Another thing too is in Skyrim. A lot of people talked about this before, but one of the things that's really cool about Skyrim is you can actually marry anyone regardless of gender. So in Skyrim is a very, people look at it as like, it's a really manly game and stuff. But in Skyrim, you can also, it's actually canon that everybody in Skyrim is bisexual. So kind of a funny and interesting thing about the game. But if you're interested in more of kind of Elder Scrolls and LGBTQ, definitely Elder Scrolls Online is the best one for that. In terms of kind of my perspective on Elder Scrolls and LGBTQ is I would love to see Elder Scrolls go further. I love it when, for instance, Bloodborne and stuff like that, they have a slider for gender or like, and I think it's just really interesting the ways that we can change these things and improve on it and stuff to make sure that everybody really feels represented and everybody feels welcome in the communities. So I think that is the current event stuff. So next I will be opening up this. Just a few other interesting things. So earlier this week I released another mod. That was actually a mod request. There was a modder who reached out to me on my Patreon from Hungary, and they were saying that they wanted to play Skyrim with their girlfriend, but their girlfriend was arachnophobic, so she had a phobia of spiders. And they're PS4 players. We've had arachnophobia mods for Skyrim on PC, but modders hadn't brought them over to PS4. So I spent a few hours and I made an arachnophobia mod for PS4. So I think that will make the game more accessible to people. I think more people are going to be able to play it. And yeah, it's just kind of fun. I think it's cool to kind of point out just how global this is, right? Because I speak English. English is kind of my main language. I also speak some Chinese, but I do speak English. And yeah, just the fact that somebody was able to communicate with me and go, hey, we're missing this mod. We'd love to see this mod for PS4. Can somebody make it? And yeah, they just reached out to me and I put the hours in to make sure that Skyrim has a arachnophobia mod for PS4. So yeah, we're a global community. It's cool. We can support each other no matter where we are in the world. So yeah, I am going to crack open my stream beer now. I'm drinking a beer called Dat Juice. It is a citrus pale ale by a local brewery. It's a tasty one. It's the same one I was drinking last stream too. But yeah, I'm hoping with these streams, no matter where you are in the world, I can bring you some relaxation as we enjoy the mutual love of Skyrim and Elder Scrolls, and just video games in general. I think it's so cool. I love modding because we can have an active part in creating these things. And I think that's something that is really fantastic about what they did with the Elder Scrolls series, was they made all these modding tools available for us, so that we don't have to become a game developer in order to create this content. We can actually just learn these tools. The wiki is free and available for everybody. Turn the audio up a bit more again. All right. So, So I'm going to go over what we've done so far. And I say we because actually a lot of this is built with the motivation of the community, and it's built with the feedback of chat and of people just kind of going, yeah, rah rah, keep it going. So that's a huge part of modding, is the way that we keep each other motivated and we keep each other inspired to do new things and to push things further. So here's the beginning of Vanua. You start underwater, you're drowning, you climb up here, or you die and you have to quick load, and you leave your controller down and you keep dying and quick loading for a few minutes. But once you pick up your controller, you climb up the stairs and out of the water. And you can walk forward. There's some of these really cool, what are these called? Catacombs over here. I think these are super cool with these vines. I'm stoked about that. I'm going to add more vines as like decoratives all around. And you're going to fight some skeletons. You go up further. There's another, that's a leveled skeleton right there. I'm going to put some zombies around too, because zombies were in the original dungeon in Oblivion. Just for anybody who doesn't know exactly kind of the context of this level design, is it's for a project called Beyond Skyrim. And Beyond Skyrim is a mod, it's kind of a series of mods, it's a bunch of mods that are recreating or creating for the first time ever different provinces in the Elder Scrolls universe. And we're creating them as kind of just this community endeavor where people from kind of all over the world, I know of people who are contributing to Beyond Skyrim from, there's, you know, we have Canada, we have a lot of people from the US, we have a lot of people from Europe as well, and I think we have a few people from Latin America too, so it's pretty good for being global. I'd love to see, I know we have like a lot of Asian modders too. I'm very curious if there's anybody modding in Beyond Skyrim from Asia. And yeah, so continuing on with what this is, it's part of a project to kind of make the world of Skyrim bigger. So when you're playing Skyrim, you oh, nice. In chat, Lepanda's saying they're Middle Eastern. Awesome. Not quite a modder though, only in the Arcane University. That is so cool, dude. I am so stoked. I really hope that, yeah, I would love to see more people from all over the world getting more into Elder Scrolls modding. I think it's something that is so cool because everybody can kind of build their things and contribute their voice to it. I think it's so cool. And yeah, so we're creating these different things, and yeah. So going on with the dungeon, so you enter here, and then you actually go through this area here. I have to set the door up for that. I'm gonna actually do something to set this up. So this is the, what do you call it, mine door. Okay, and then over here, I'm just gonna link that door up so that when you go through that door, it will take you to this area over here. Where is that? Just have to find the right spot. There it is. Okay. So I'm gonna teleport to Vanua. CYR Vanua. One. And it is mine door, this one. Cool. So now those will start to get linked. I'm just gonna save this. I'm gonna position the map markers. This is where the player pops up once you go through the door. So I just have to position it to a good spot on each side. There we go. It's nice and convenient too, because once you've linked two cells together, you just double click on this, and you can teleport right over. So, let me see. All right. So, you go through this mine, you go up the tunnel, and then you actually get into this area here. So this is kind of like a cramped cave here, where you travel around to this side, and then you go up into this cave. So this cave, I actually had some ideas for changing it. One of the things I want to do, I think I might do it while I'm here, is set up a vine. Just like that. And I wanted to kind of set up some vines. I might build some boulders over there too later on. That'll probably, I think I'll do that when I get into a later stage. But for now, it's going to be kind of a way to block the movement, so you have to go around to the other side. So that's kind of what these areas are going to look like once they're all finished. More vines around. I think that's a fun thing to do with this chamber here, because this chamber is like a little bit big and open. At least that's kind of how it was in Oblivion. And 150 years later, we can block some things, clap some stuff, things like that. Okay, and then over here, oh, that's so weird. I'm seeing some of the, oh, there it is. Maybe I have to reset my view. There's just like a little visual glitch. Just wait for the program to come back. Chirolo, you're asking in chat, are you from Redguard Lives Matter? I am not. I don't know. Redguard lives are perfectly fine. It's Black lives that we need to be concerned about. And I think that joking about it kind of makes light of the whole thing, which is not something that I approve of. Okay, so, yeah, okay, now we can see the whole area here. And so there's this little platform. This is the really interesting, this is the most interesting area of this dungeon, because up here there is a custom helmet. And this helmet is one that I think we worked on just last session. It's called the Helm of the White Worm. And it is a unique Mithril helmet. Mithril is a special kind of armor type that we're adding in Beyond Skyrim. And it has an enchantment. I think the enchantment, let me see what that one does again. And yeah, helmet enchantment. So this custom helmet is going to fortify your illusion. It's going to fortify restoration, but it's going to reduce, it's going to give you a little bit of curse of a negative to your max magicka. So it's kind of a trade-off where it's positive but also negative. I think that's a really interesting thing. We, you guys in chat helped me figure that one out last time for what to do for those enchantments. And just continue going on with the level. So there's that big room. You don't get to go up to there at the very beginning, but you might be able to whirlwind sprint. Yeah, you could probably whirlwind sprint over, unless I change it. I might add some vines there. Oh, I should add some vines now, just to mark that for later. Yeah, so one of these. Yeah, I think that'll be good, because then I think the idea is unless I'm trying to make it a thing to like use Whirlwind Sprint to get through, I think it would probably be better if I try and block that, because you are supposed to go through the whole level here. Move that a bit. I think I'll layer a few of these on here. All right, so that's pretty decent. I might put it on the other side too. Actually, I might as well just copy paste that one. I can edit it later on. All right, that's pretty decent. It's a good start. So next room is this room, and these rooms altogether are kind of, they're about halfway done. There's a lot of decoration and stuff that I usually still do after this. And yeah, so up here, you can actually climb up here, which is kind of cool. So your follower won't go up there, but you can go up there. You can climb up there, and there's just a little hidden treasure chest there. You can go through a door here. You can go through the tunnel, and I'm starting to incorporate some more water into this. I might even make the water level even higher. I think that might be a fun thing to do, especially for Vanua. But this is the last room that I was working in, and I actually really like this because I added these kind of these walls here. I see a little bit more I need to add on there. Yeah, just a little bit more. I think actually if I move this over there, that might be it. Yeah, there we go. That's pretty good. There we go. Cool. So yeah, then that corner is blocked out. Just had to fix that. And there we are. So this is the most recent room. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Oblivion, because I use that to reference for every single room. I find that's the best way to do it. So I hope you guys are doing good in chat. I see that there's 15 people, so thanks for coming by. Alright, so I'm going to change over to Vanua cell. And I'm going to turn God mode on. I'm going to turn detection off. And there we go. So you can see what sort of a dungeon this is. I'm going to turn the sound down a little bit. It seems to be pretty high. Alright, so I think this is the room, because that's the tunnel. Okay, cool. So over here, this is the entrance, and so mine is a little bit different from this, because they had like this little down thing where you could go down to the next area in the original kit, but that's pretty good. Okay, so over here. And we have So there's this statue. I think that's decent. I'm gonna go into the decoration at, I think, a different stage of this. I think the best thing for me to do is I'm gonna duplicate this cell, and we're gonna start into the third cell of Vanua. Yeah, I see Chirolo30 in chat. You're asking, am I on the Discord server? I am on the Discord server. I'm not like super active on the Discord. I was when I started getting into the project, but lately, because I do my own modding and stuff too, aside from the Beyond Skyrim project, I don't keep up with it. I pretty much go in, I check in every now and then to see like what people are doing. I try and add like those reactions onto different things. If I see something cool, I'll add the reaction to it. But yeah, I'm not super active on our Discord. I think the fact that it exists is really cool though. I think it's awesome for giving a place for people to chat and everything. Alright, so you go through that door, and then I'm going to start building the Lost Catacombs. Okay, so that's the name of this cell. So it is the Lost Catacombs. Very interesting name. Alright, and then this one is going to be, what is it? I think it's the Shrine of the Crusader. Yeah, in chat, I agree with Lepanthas. Okay. So, next room is gonna be this one here. So, it seems like it starts in just a typical 3x3. The question asked, Chirolo30 was asking, do you think that Bethesda will tone down the Aldmeri Dominion because of current events? Do you think they should? I don't really think Aldmeri Dominion are necessarily super relevant to current events. I think like the thing that I got from Aldmeri Dominion was that in a way it's sort of this high elf supremacist organization that is actually, you can actually trace a lot of that trajectory with the elves throughout the series. There's been, even back to Oblivion, like the Ayleid ruins were kind of relics of this past that humanity overcame. Because the Ayleids had enslaved the humans for hundreds of years until the humans eventually were able to organize and throw off the elves. The elves were described as being like these kind of hedonistic, they worshipped the Ayleids specifically, like the difference between the Ayleids, which are those ancient race of, they're called wild elves, different from Bosmer, but these Ayleids were very, they were known to worship both the Aedra and the Daedra, and they were kind of like before that point where the kind of the high elves split from the Dunmer, because the Dunmer are known as the ones that only worship the evil gods, right? They only worship those gods that the imperial pantheon recognizes to be evil. I mean, they kind of are. It's things like Mephala and Molag Bal. Like they're the evil gods. If you were gonna put them onto like, you know, that traditional fantasy, you know, scale of you know, good or evil, the Dunmer are definitely evil. Okay, so I am just looking to get this middle piece here. But yeah, in terms of like the Elmeri Dominion, honestly, one of the things that I think Bethesda kind of missed out on is they could have been making DLC for a lot longer than they did. Like they could have actually. I mean, I think about what we're doing with Beyond Skyrim, and we're creating things that are the level of a DLC or bigger. I think Beyond Skyrim Cyrodiil is definitely bigger than any DLC. It's just about as big in terms of scope and content as the original Skyrim. And one thing I think they missed out on for Skyrim and DLCs is they could have really kept going with creating more content, more DLCs for Skyrim. It surprises me because I look at some other creators, like for instance EA with The Sims will create DLC for 5 years or 6 years, or more, maybe even, I don't know how long it's been, and maybe hasn't been 10 years, but many years. And I'm surprised that they didn't just keep making more content for Skyrim, especially because there's so much. Yeah, 22B3 is saying in chat that it's also surprising, and yeah, they stopped. 22B3 is saying they stopped creating DLC back in 2012, and it's like, what year is it now? It's 2020. We're still playing Skyrim. I'm sure a lot of us would pay for the quality content. But you know, I think that's cool. I feel like they almost gave up on Skyrim after the fiasco with like the Curation Club. I think they kind of looked at it and like, all right. I think they almost thought that we would hate anything they did, but I don't think that's true. Okay, so there's this little area here, and there's some columns. I think I might put those columns in there too, just so they're there. All right, that's pretty cool. I'm gonna go just a little bit more. There we go. Cool. So there's those columns in that room. So we continue. There's some stairs up here, and cool. So this kind of gets into another hall, like a small room type area. Yeah. Okay. So there's some stairs going up. 22B3 in chat is asking if you wanted to see Bethesda make a DLC for Skyrim, what would you like to see? I think what I would love to see if they did another DLC would be getting deeper into both of the factions. I've been thinking about this a bit because I feel like some of it was a little bit simplified. I feel like there was some things where I would love to see, for instance, a plot line where you could be on the side of the Stormcloaks, but you could kick out Ulfric or something like that. where you could actually make these movements a little bit more up to the player, where the player kind of gets to kind of define these things. I think that's one problem I had with the Stormcloak storyline, is that a lot of people, they don't want to do it because it's racist. Like, it's basically the Nords saying Skyrim belongs to the Nords, and it's like, well, you know, like looking at, you know, the geopolitical history of Skyrim and of Tamriel altogether is the elves were everywhere first. The elves are extremely old. And even the Forsworn, I mean, that's another thing. Yeah, talk about like interesting DLC. I would have loved to see a Forsworn thing where you get to kind of give them more depth, because I think there's a lot of factions that are just treated as kind of being these comic book villains. Like, I think that was one thing with the Forsworn in particular. I would have loved to see. I mean, they could still do it. They're, you know, Skyrim, a lot of people are playing it. I would love to see them do something more with that. A Forsworn DLC, that would have been cool. Soul Stealer 2 in chat is saying, thanks for these streams. This kind of stuff will help carry me through to Cyberpunk, and hopefully Cyberpunk will in turn carry me to some pre-releases. Yes, Cyberpunk's so cool, dude. I love Cyberpunk stuff. One thing I'm very proud of is I live in Vancouver. Vancouver is kind of where one of the first authors of Cyberpunk lived, William Gibson. They were a resident of Vancouver here, and I can definitely, you know, being somebody who lives here, you can definitely see where it comes from. It's a lot of rich property owners here, that's for sure. But anyways, my goal still is to keep the politics at the front of the stream and not let it leak into the rest of it, because I think it's important for people to have things that are relaxing. I'm still trying to figure out like what's the right balance, because I don't want to be silent on a lot of these things, but at the same time, people deserve some relaxing content. Maybe that's not what people are looking for streams. They're looking for somebody to kind of give their opinion. Just figuring that stuff out. Yeah, I think Forsworn, that would be really interesting, because one of the things about the Forsworn is, I think it's Markarth. The game actually starts pretty much right after I think the Stormcloaks captured Markarth from the Forsworn. So the city of Markarth, we kind of start it and we see it, you know, okay, yeah, there's, I think it starts being a Stormcloak controlled territory. And, but yeah, like it's almost like really hidden in the game, because you don't see any of the evidence of the fact that this place was literally just conquered from the Forsworn. Just trying to find the right piece here. Sometimes it's very difficult to find the right piece. I think I'm looking for a hall here, but it's actually got to be a staircase, I think. I think one thing I love about Skyrim and kind of the Elder Scrolls and a lot of RPGs is how it lets you play things from different perspectives. I think that would be something really fantastic for the Forsworn is, you know, imagine playing the game through from the perspective of a Forsworn, of one of the Bretons who, or kind of the Reachmen, who had lived there for a long time. Okay, yeah, you guys are correcting. So Markarth starts under Imperial control. Okay, I think it was. I'm kind of, for some reason I have it in the idea that like it was controlled by the Stormcloaks. It might have been like the Stormcloaks had it, and then the Imperials just got it from the Stormcloaks. But either way, like, you know, some of those territorial claims are just like, you know, it's been in the hands of several different places. Hello, El Famoso Tsuki. Welcome. So we go forward 1, 2, 3, and then there's another staircase. I think what I'll do is try this down below, and it kind of worked out. I'm gonna grab this piece here. This was a pretty interesting piece. Cool thing about this one is it has some statues. Oh, I can explain the concept of what I'm doing. I'm doing level design in the Skyrim creation kit for a project called Beyond Skyrim Cyrodiil, and I'm building a dungeon for that mod. It's a mod. I think it's going to be available. I think it's just available on PC. That's kind of due to like the size of the mod. It's a really big. It's going to add a lot to the game. And it adds essentially like a whole nother world space for the players to explore. But yeah, it's really fun. It's just kind of like a community project. People, you know, just volunteer their time towards it and stuff. It's pretty cool. I think it's a fun way, and we have people like all over the world contributing to it as well. It's very interesting. I learned so much doing this stuff, and yeah, I think it's been a great way for me to kind of explore and do some new things I hadn't done before. Thanks for coming by. Have a good one, El Famoso Tsuki. I love it when people have like interesting names on the internet. I think that's one of the cool things about the internet is you can you can have whatever name you want. 22B3 asking, does Canada have many opportunities for grad students in the way of engineering? I'm a little undecided on where to go. I hear we do. I think Canada has a fair amount of different things for engineering. Because we do have like a huge, like a whole lot of like wilderness, right? Like we're a very big country, and I think it depends on what you want to do and what you're willing to do. Because I think if you're willing to kind of go out somewhere really remote, I think there are a fair amount of opportunities for that. I think there's also, I know there's different like surveying companies and things like that. And they do engineering, different things like infrastructure, so like building bridges and things like that. We do have a lot of different things like that. Let me see, one of the big ones, there's a company called, I'll type it in for you. You can check that one out. McElhenney is the name of this engineering company that I know of, and they do a lot of stuff, at least in my province. I'm not sure if they're like a good company to work for or anything. I just know that they exist. But yeah, I think it's fairly good. I think really, yeah, in Canada, a lot of the opportunities depend on how rural, how remote you're willing to get, because it's a very large company or very large country, and if you're looking for something to do after your internship, sometimes it's interesting to kind of really get out there, right? You're only going to be an intern once in your life, and after that, you're going to start getting all these anchors, and you're going to be tied down to a certain location and stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I think Canada's better. It's not great. Like I wish I could say it was, but like Canada, we're a whole lot more polite, and I think the difficulty sometimes is that people can still be prejudiced, but at least they won't say it to your face as much, especially not in a professional environment. They won't be mean. Okay, so I have another staircase that goes up, and then we enter this really interesting room. A whole lot of monsters jumping around here. All right. But yeah, moving to Canada, like if you're concerned about, what's going on in America, people have been doing that for a long time. A lot of people have moved to Canada when they've seen things going on in the States that they don't like. It is traditionally a place where people are welcomed. And, not to say we don't have some people who are really more conservative or like xenophobic or things like that. We do, but there's not as many of them. And usually the government is on the side of the people, which is an interesting situation. It's nice to have a democracy that works. I've been talking about how I went to the Black Lives Matter protest a couple weeks ago, and the interesting thing about that protest was that it was okayed by the mayor of the city, and they made a specific exemption for the COVID restrictions. Granted that everybody was wearing masks and everybody was doing their best to social distance, the city was on our side in having that protest. So it's an interesting situation. I'm very, you know, I never got a choice in the matter of what country I was born in, but you know, it's not a bad place. Okay, so I have another 3x3 room here. It's funny, I've met a number of trans folk, and it's been very nice. I'm actually I never knew, like, when I was growing up, I never expected I would actually, like, because I grew up in, you know, being like a white kid. Like, I never I never thought that I would get to meet so many trans people, but I have met at least three in my real life, and then online, like, I meet a whole lot more. There's a lot of people. I think it's very cool. I am very much supportive of everybody being content and doing what it takes to get content, and just making people who, you know, there was a statement I heard about allies for trans people, and they were saying it's not enough just to be an ally. You have to be a what was it? It was like collaborator. You basically, they were saying, you can't just like say that you support trans people and that you are happy and want to support them and stuff. You also have to hurt the people who are hurting them. And I think that, you know, as being somebody who I've seen a lot of people get treated not fairly, and eventually you kind of hit your point where you're like, yeah, this is I'm not going to be, you know, just one of the quiet, polite Canadians. I'm going to get angry. I'm going to get mad at people who are not willing to treat other people as humans, for asking for basic human dignity. Like, you know, there comes to a point where even a Skyrim modder gets pissed off and wants to throw shit. So I try to do it online. I try and I look at the subreddits and stuff, and, you know, when somebody's doing something crappy, call them out for it. That's the least I can do as somebody who I identify as a guy, and I haven't had those difficulties. For me, I've been very lucky, and so it is my responsibility to put myself out there, put some of that burden onto myself to help make it easier for the people who are not so fortunate. So this area I'm building is, I think it's pretty straightforward. It's like, we have, yeah, thank you. Yeah, you know, just everybody, you're all loved, and I think the Skyrim community is one of the most accepting places. I think it's been pretty good for that. I want it to be even better. I would love to keep on doing Skyrim modding for years and years. You know, the next Skyrim comes out, or next Elder Scrolls comes out, I'd love to keep modding for that. And I think doing it progressively and in such a way that we can keep building this stuff is an awesome way to do it. Chad asking, what do you think you'll be working on after the dungeon? I wonder. I think I'll probably, I don't know, because I've been thinking for this series, it's been fun to make it a series specifically about this dungeon in particular. So I wonder if I will start streaming a new dungeon. It depends on how I set it up. I was almost thinking of just doing like general, almost like mod request streams, where, because I'm fairly confident about my modding ability. So like, if people were asking, you know, like, oh, can we try to make this kind of mod like on stream? I could maybe give that a shot. I think that would be interesting. Just kind of general, like, you know, you don't have to be a modder, but we'll try and make the mod ideas that people have. I think that'd be fun for like little short short things. So like if people want a, you know, custom character or something like that, just kind of doing that on stream. That might be fun. Otherwise, I do really enjoy level design. I could just keep doing level design. I might even just like pick another dungeon, and because I think doing it as a Beyond Skyrim stream is also a whole lot of fun. Because I think a lot of people are very, very interested in Beyond Skyrim specifically. And I really enjoy the idea of making content for like people who are really into it, right? Like we have a lot of people for Skyrim who are super into Skyrim. I mean, it's been quite a few years and this game has sustained our attention. We're still into it. I kind of look at these streams as like being a little bit like an extension of how modding is, where I think a lot of people love to see mods. Like, there's, I think, okay, so the way that I look at mods is in terms of like the impact that a mod makes on the community, is the biggest amount of impact is really just knowing that there is this thing that is really deep that like if you wanted to get into it, you totally could. And that's kind of what I'm doing with these streams, is like they're long streams. There's a lot of hours, and if you really wanted to, you could totally watch like however many hours it's gonna end up being, maybe like 15 hours, maybe more, 18 hours of streams just showing how this specific dungeon in Beyond Skyrim was built, that like that depth of content is really cool, and I think that's a huge part of modding. Even if you don't download like a mod specifically, just knowing that it exists, I think it really enriches the community of modding. Just knowing that, like, you know, hey, if I wanted to play Skyrim from the perspective of the Forsworn, you know, there would be a mod that would actually support that. I think it'll probably be most likely for me to just kind of pick the next dungeon. I think I might just like go on to the next dungeon and be like, all right, you know, I finished Vanua on the stream. The next dungeon is going to be something else. All right, so we get back into a cave over here. So I'm going to go grab my cave stuff, which is right here. Yes. So grab that. That's the nice thing about those things. This is actually a piece. I think I'm using it for the 4th time in this dungeon. And this piece itself took me probably 45 minutes to an hour to create. And I can just keep using it. If there's more applications for it, I can just add it to a new place. It's this interesting transition piece that goes out to a cave. No matter how far I want it to go out. It's going to be at the ground level. And I'm going to place it, and then I'll probably just like delete everything that doesn't quite fit. Something like that. That's good. Okay, so I'll start there. And then I'm going to move these pieces up. I kind of like these columns here. I'm gonna see if I can keep these up here, because that's kind of cool. I just need to make a middle piece there too. That piece. I'm gonna try moving it. Using kits like this can be crazy sometimes, because there's some things that work pretty easily, and then some things that take a lot of tweaking to get working. Yeah, I think I need to bring that piece back. think that's pretty good. There's a lot of things going on in this little area here, but I think it works. The biggest thing I'm looking out for are like seams. Oh, I can actually get rid of this whole piece, I think. Yeah, that'll simplify it. I don't need this thing here. Right? Hopefully I don't. Okay. That's pretty good. Now I just need a piece. I think I had a perfect one over here. Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah, 2TB3 asking in chat, I find quest creation fascinating. What makes Papyrus difficult to learn? The thing that I find for Papyrus, I mean, if you're comfortable with coding, that makes things a whole lot easier. If you're okay with coding and you've maybe learned a little bit of code before, Papyrus is not too bad. The thing that I found to be difficult is that, I mean, when you want to test things, like if you want to test like edge cases of like different things, then with Papyrus you kind of have to go in game and test all these things out. Like, so it can take a little bit longer to develop something. One of the things that we end up doing with Papyrus is we'll build these little like mechanisms that we've tested out and we know that they work and stuff. And then we'll copy those and kind of move them into different places. So it's a little bit different. Like, some people look at coding as something you can kind of do super quick and you can do all these things. But you can do them super quick, but testing it and doing all that quality assurance and stuff, that tends to take quite a bit longer. So in terms of like the things that are difficult for Papyrus, I'd say it just kind of has a different, maybe it has a different methodology than a lot of other people expect with coding. I think one thing with Papyrus is kind of being patient and flexible to try things in a different way. I know even like watching some of the documentaries by like the Bethesda team talking about their struggles with, you know, even them working on Papyrus, they talk about their own struggles. So just kind of knowing that like it's a decent system. You got to be patient with it sometimes to figure out, you know, if it's doing something and it's working in a way that might not really be what you expected. Sorry. Yep. So 22B3 is saying, would I be right to assume that to create a long and complex quest line would require a long and complex testing process? Yes, 100%. And, you know, honestly, I think that's why Skyrim has a lot more of these quests that are kind of, you know, there's a few of like, you know, DLC where like the DLC is a big quest line. But you see a lot of like the Skyrim game is kind of like these quick, shorter quests that are easier to test and stuff like that. In terms of like if you were designing quests, I would say the best way to do it, from like what I've seen, and I'm not a quest designer. There are definitely people who know a whole lot more about this than I do, but I have experimented with Papyrus. I've successfully released some script mods and stuff like that. And yeah, like the thing that I'd recommend is just kind of relying on a few mechanisms that you know will work. So like, get the item, for instance, because you could do a certain script trigger for, you know, when this item enters the player's inventory, advance to this quest stage. And that can be a really reliable thing. You can do a million things with you know, with a fetch quest. So not being too concerned about you know, oh, are people gonna complain that, you know, it's a fetch quest or something? It's like, no, they're not. Like, it's Skyrim. People will enjoy whatever it is. The thing about Skyrim that's interesting is a lot of it is that like emergent gameplay where half the fun is really just what happens between the objectives. Glock Squawk in chat is saying maybe try the interior platform set for the middle section. Let me check out what the middle section looks like again. This one here, eh? I could, yeah. I mean, I think there might be some platform things I could use in here. I think for some of it, I'm doing the sort of creative, you know, emphasis on the creative interpretation, where it's not entirely the same, but it's supposed to be reminiscent. Like, it's kind of the same areas and stuff, but 150 years have passed. The rocks and things have shifted around. Okay, so this goes into this cave area. So this is a cool cave. I like these caves that are interesting shapes. This will be fun. I'm going to create some vines and things in here. Soul Stealer in chat is saying, I wonder if the Morrowind team will implement aftershock effects in some of their dungeons, like that one Dwemer place with the Ghost Lady in Skyrim, because of the active volcano over there. That would be interesting. I'd love to see, like, you know, like fissures, like lava fissures or like steam coming out of different areas. It'd be really interesting to make it seem like this kind of post-apocalyptic. That's the way that I look at Morrowind. Morrowind is, I mean, I'm not on the team for Beyond Skyrim Morrowind, but that's just the way that I look at it. Is it's post-apocalyptic Skyrim. I wonder if this works. I'm just trying to move this whole chunk. It kind of does. Do I have to change anything on the roof? There's a few seams, but it's nothing too bad. Nothing a boulder can't fix. There we go. Let's put a big boulder there. Nice. That's how to, like, when you jam up your kits and you have a few things mixing together, you can always just mix it together with a boulder. Okay, let me look back here and see. So it kind of goes straight forward. There's a corner on each side, and then we have an inner corner here, and an outer corner, and an inner corner, and then another one. 223 in chat asking, I personally love when video games offer branching paths, and sometimes options are quite difficult to attain unless you set yourself out to attain them. Persona 4 comes to mind with regards to how the story can play out. Do you think there's a difference between a questline that is needlessly tedious and a questline that is diverse and interesting? I I really like that idea of like you have a path that is kind of the simpler path. So like um, for the people who are just like they just want to beat the game, or they just want to say that they've they've done it. Um, there's that quick and easy kind of way forward. Um, but then for the people who are interested in maybe exploring some of the complexities or like the subtleties of the game. Maybe people who, for instance, like there's the idea of the grind in games. So like, you know, games that ask you to collect like 50 or 100 of something before you go forward. Um, and people have kind of opinions, for and against that kind of thing. I think it's cool. Like I love it when there's an optional grind. So like for instance, if you beat a level, you can beat it, you can go ahead. But if you really enjoy the level and like you want to keep playing that experience and you just want to kind of make it longer, you can keep doing it. You can keep on playing that experience for a little bit longer to unlock something else, like something a little bit deeper. I think that's awesome. I think it's interesting in terms of like games and mods. I think mods are another level of game where typically with a mod we make it a bit more niche. It can be really a lot more specific than a game is, because a game you're looking for getting uh, a certain kind of audience that can hopefully draw attention from as many people as possible. Whereas with a mod, it can actually get a lot more niche. You can make some choices that don't necessarily not everybody would want it, but some people who do um, would be extremely stoked to hear that kind of thing is in the game. I think, yeah, questline that is needlessly tedious and a questline that is diverse and interesting. Um, yeah, I think the thing that I see Skyrim doing is that it kind of creates something for as many paths as possible, and I think that's a really interesting thing. The thing I love about mods is that they don't necessarily need to create all of the paths. They can really double down on like um, one or two of the path, or even just one path. Honestly, I think um, making a mod or quest mod, it only really needs to have one path. Sometimes having multiple paths can be really, really actually surprisingly challenging to implement. And I think the ultimate goal for any mod is to get to publishing and to get to being complete and out there. And really, as fast as you can do that, the better. For my mods, when I try and do them, I try and get the 1.0 out as fast as possible. And I used to not do that. I used to focus on, making the quality really good and making sure that my release was super awesome. Honestly, it doesn't matter that much. If you have a really good mod, people are going to come and check it out over the span of months and years. It's not going to be a super quick thing that everybody shows up day one. It takes a while for people to figure out, oh, this mod exists. So, yeah, in terms of like planning and designing a mod, my recommendation is try and get your first version out as quick as possible so that you can start to get feedback. And yeah, Glock Squawk in chat, the Soul Cairn was kind of like that. You can quickly go in and out, or you can stick around and do a bunch of miscellaneous quests. I think that's super cool. I think that shows the way that like the DLC, it kind of adds this custom thing, but you can really spend your time in there. I really like that about um, the way that Bethesda has done DLC in the past. Reminds me of Shivering Isles as well too, because that is huge. Like it's a whole nother world space. There's so much stuff there, and you don't need to go to every dungeon in order to play the whole Shivering Isles experience. The Guac Squawk in chat saying, that damn soul husk grind. 22B3 in chat saying, I really wanted to make a complex quest mod centered around the political intrigue of the affairs in High Rock or between the great houses of Morrowind. I've always been intimidated by not only the work involved, but the potential of people just seeing it as tedious. Yeah, I, I feel that too, because I think that when I started releasing mods, I was concerned that people would not be receptive, or like people would kind of be like negative about it. But the experience that I have had in reality, like kind of putting my anxieties aside, the experience that I've had is I've never had anybody comment on a mod and say like, why did you do this? Every time anybody spends any time, investing into looking at mods, they tend to be very positive and like really interesting about it. I think for things like that, like if you were going to if you created that mod, another thing is kind of where do you publish it? Because Nexus is one of the good things to do, but another place to put it, just to get the word out there, would be probably like Tumblr, because there's a lot of Skyrim fans on Tumblr who are very, very into these stories and the characters specifically. Whereas like there are some other kind of areas where people aren't necessarily into the characters as much as they are into the gameplay. But yeah, like I think for that, for modding is kind of never let those anxieties stifle your creativity, because there's always going to be there's so many people, like literally there's so many people, there's thousands, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people still playing Skyrim. Like there's a lot of people still playing Skyrim, and it's insane because they're all over the world, and people enjoy it. I think if you created a mod like that, you would probably see it translated. It would probably get translated into different languages, and people would play it in multiple countries. It's wild the way that modding works. I really think that like because it's challenging, not all that many people get all the way through to creating mods, and the people who do tend to see a whole lot of support, because again, like it's a challenging thing. It's tough to get through it and get to the point where you've not only made a whole mod, but like you've released it, and you can even bug fix it after. Like don't worry about bugs fixing it beforehand. Let people try it. Everybody I think at this point is very experienced with modding, and they're not gonna be too upset if a mod crashes their game. It's kind of comes with the territory. So it doesn't need to be perfect to get released. That'd be cool. I'm actually very curious. I don't know if you want to share any more about that idea for the High Rock and Great Houses of Morrowind. That'd be interesting. I'm actually, out of those two, I think I'm probably most curious about the High Rock one, because Morrowind was, High Rock. My bet for Elder Scrolls 6 is that it's going to be High Rock. I predicted Skyrim. I did. I predicted it within my friends. I was like, the next one's going to be Skyrim, and then it was. And I'm saying this right now, the next one's probably going to be High Rock. So I'm very interested to hear any theories or really any more lore about High Rock. I was playing Elder Scrolls Online about a year or two ago, and I made a point specifically to go High Rock because I'm like, what is this place like? Like, what's going on at High Rock? What's it like? Turn the music up a bit. 22B3 in chat. Have you played the Dragon Age series before? In the third game, one of my favorite quests involved you infiltrating a party filled with nobles. Yes, I watched my I was watching my girlfriend play that one. It had a few different ways the quest would end, but the overall theme of political intrigue has fascinated me, and I think the fundamental nature of High Rock is very captivating to make a mod based around it. Yeah, I think that would be really cool. I love those like kind of like espionage. Like Skyrim, honestly, Skyrim has such an interesting system for espionage because you have persuasion, you have illusion, you have sneaking. You can literally just sneak around. You have pickpocketing. Yeah, so like, what is it? Persuasion, illusion, sneaking, pickpocketing. There's the whole, you know, rogue thing. It kind of gets back to those games, Thief, that old game where you're sneaking around, you're figuring out, you're finding like these little slips of paper, and things like that. You know, Thief was a huge inspiration for Elder Scrolls games, and yeah, I think that would be a good game to look at for inspiration. I think that would be really cool. I love that idea, and I think the cool thing about that, like, in terms of a quest mod, I mean, if you're interested, you could even look at, if you want to do writing and stuff, you know, you could look at getting involved with the High Rock team, because there is a team doing High Rock, and they have their own level designers and stuff too, so it might be fun to get involved with that project. Because I know they have their kit for level design stuff, which might be helpful to have that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think that idea of like infiltrating a party with like nobles and like, you know, trying to figure out what's going on, or trying to like shift events a little bit. Like I really like that about The Witcher, in that game where you're kind of like this third party in a way, but you have this really interesting position because you get to influence the events at these gatherings and stuff like that. One thing I really liked about Oblivion, one of the coolest kind of, in terms of like court intrigue stuff, was Skingrad. Like the city of Skingrad, because Skingrad had a, I forget what they're called, oh man, a count? The Count of Skingrad. God, that was really deep, that was surprisingly deep. Because the Count of Skingrad in Oblivion was a vampire, and that was something you don't learn unless you start kind of prying into those court intrigues of, you know, who is this mysterious count of, you know, this big city, because Skingrad's one of the largest cities aside from the Imperial City. Skingrad is pretty impressive, and just that idea that the Count of Skingrad was like kind of this benevolent vampire. Very, very interesting story. Really unexpected. And I know Beyond Skyrim, I have heard some notes about what happened to the Count of Skingrad. But yeah, 2TB3, I'm super curious. If you have any ideas or anything, I'm just like... just like, tell me more. So this is coming on pretty well. I am just building this cave out more. I have to move some of this stuff now too, because I'm been building out. Actually, I'm doing fairly good this session because sometimes I build very slowly. This time I'm building a whole lot faster. I think it helps that I have so many of these pallets to pull from now, because I've been. This is the. I think this is the last cell. This cell is actually just kind of wraps around to the Shrine of the Crusader. No, that's all good. I just want to let you know I'm very curious about that. That sounds really cool, and I hope that you enjoy creating it, right? Whether or not it comes through and becomes a full thing, you know, is really it's not the most important thing. The most important thing is that you had a fun time doing it. There's so many different ideas for mods and things that I'll build because it's really interesting. It's fun to build, and in the end, it doesn't really matter if it all comes together at the end. Like, as long as you enjoyed the process of creating, that is the most important thing. But yeah, if you do spend some more time on building it, definitely, you know, I'll be doing these streams, and I'm always interested in hearing some more Skyrim modding stuff. Oblivion is so cool. There's a reason why we are spending so much of our time rebuilding it and kind of living in that world. It's just so cool. I mean, I mod more than I play, but I do think about going back and starting a new Oblivion playthrough every now and then. Yeah, totally. The thing for me is, the way that I look at lore and stuff is like, I'm the kind of person who looks at like Thomas the Tank Engine as being like, you know, that's cool, that's lore. I'm definitely not a person who is you know, that idea of like the lore beard, like the kind of person who's very like, you know, that's not canon, that's not how it's supposed to be, you know, in this thing. The thing about Elder Scrolls is that the idea that they break the canon is canon. There's this idea in the game called the Dragon Break, and there's a book called Where Were You When the Dragon Break Happened? And it's specifically about this idea that in the game, in the context of writing the game of the Elder Scrolls, the writers break the canon all the time just to make a better story. And it's going to upset some people in the audience who are like, you know, oh, that's not how it can happen, you know, there's these reasons, and, you know, as if there's this concrete reality that we're talking about. We're not talking about a concrete reality. This is a video game based on pixels that that cause people to believe there is a story and real characters on their screen. So the yeah, I'm very much. I certainly will not be the sort of person to critique negatively. I'm very much the kind of person who will just be like, that is cool, that is awesome, and I hope you keep going. Yeah, and I think that's a really cool that's a really cool valid way to look at it too, where it's sort of um, they have made some attempts to kind of keep it. There's this idea of what is it? It's like verisimilitude. Verisimilitude is one of the writing words. There's a few writing words I know. I don't really do a lot of writing, but I know a few of the words. Um, Another one is truthiness. But it's sort of this idea that, you know, there is this concrete world. It's not a real world, but it's it's a world we're looking into. Like you're saying, yeah. I'll read your comment out. You're saying I really want to write something that is as canon friendly as possible. For me, Elder Scrolls feels like an alternate universe that we peer into, and I feel like if I ever wrote something that completely goes against, I'd be messing with the writer's vision, and I really respect what Elder Scrolls is. That's a very nice way to do it. Um, I'm certainly less responsible than that, which is funny to be. You know, like I'm working in the Beyond Skyrim project. I'm a level designer. I'm not a writer. If I was a writer, you know, all bets are off. But as a level designer, I'm very permissive over, you know, what we consider to be lore. I try to, you know, I use the kit and I try to do justice to the kit, and I try to do justice to maybe not necessarily the writers, but I do justice to the audience, where we're interested in these themes and developing these themes further. Okay, so I think this next area. Oh, can I just put this right here? Will this work? I'll be so happy if this just clicks. Is it gonna click? Kind of. I think I just need to change this. It might click. Okay. One of these, I'm just going to keep swapping it with the other pieces here. But yeah, 2GB3 and shit. It's funny you say that because all your mods I'm used seem completely lore friendly. Realm of Lorcan, there's no way the fabled Dragonborn would start their adventure coming out of a cell. Well, nowhere, yeah, like alternate start. Realm of Lorcan really makes you feel like a mystical being. I love that about it. Yeah, I love that, and that's definitely like 100% the reason why I created Realm of Lorcan, because I played those alternate start mods and I was like, this is interesting. There was also not an alternate start mod for PS4, and I was kind of, you know, in a way I was like, I don't know how to explain it, but I was kind of like, I was vibing with these people who from the United States who were doing these videos, doing video mod reviews of some of the mods I was doing. And I was like looking at what they had available to them, and I was like, how come you guys don't have a alternate start mod on PS4? Because they were all doing it on PS4. And so that was the biggest thing for me, was just like, I wanted to crack, you know, how do you do an alternate start mod without any scripting? And yeah, you know, I think it's really fun to take another crack at some mods or even some stories, right? Even if somebody's created a story similar to yours, you can always make your perspective or your take on that storyline. Just because there was an alternate start mod before doesn't mean that we can't have another one. You know, it might be better if we do make another one, knowing what we know about how these mods work. But yeah, I don't know. I think part of it's also like we exist within this community, and like I think my push, like the thing that I'm trying to drive for people to do, is like, don't worry about lore friendliness too much. Like, it's nice if it's similar to like what the game is and stuff like that, but I don't want to gatekeep people from modding because they're concerned that if they do it wrong, people might get upset. I don't think that is a good way for the community to act, because I think we always need more modders. We need new modders who are bringing new ideas and new visions to the table. Like I say a few times, like, you know, the best time to get into modding is really now, when there's been so much work into creating awesome tutorials. There's so much content out there that the people who were modding when Skyrim just came out within those first 4 years, they didn't have those tutorials. They didn't have you know, video walkthroughs of like how do you script a quest or things like that. It was a whole lot harder for them, and I think it's actually easier to get into modding now. Alright, so then the next area I have here is a hall. So it goes that way, and it goes this way. That way goes to the Shrine of the Crusader. And this way goes to, also to the Shrine of the Crusader. Interesting. Okay. So I want to start with a Soul Seed was here in chat. I just headcanon the alternate start mod as my guy having a weird dream. In fact, I use the shipwreck start and imagine that my character gets knocked out cold by something falling off of a shelf, and that was the dream of being in the room. Yeah, I love that, dude. I think that's a great way to do it. I am so much for headcanon. I think headcanon is the answer to so many different, like, immersion breaking things where you're like, huh? Like, how come this happened? If you're playing like a not the Dragonborn kind of a run, and you don't have like all of those different mods that, you know, change every little aspect of being mentioned as the Dragonborn, it's just so much easier to headcanon your way out of it and be like, yeah. Just ignore certain parts of the story. I love those shipwreck starts. I think those are so cool. I love the, because I do, when I play Skyrim, I tend to play a lot of really short playthroughs, where I'll go like, I'll play a character for like a little while. I almost feel bad about it because of how I play. Like I play so unconventionally where I don't necessarily follow through with my games. Like I'll start playing and then I'll stop, and then I'll start playing, I'll stop. And I used to think it was a big problem because I'm like, oh my god, how come I can't play this game? And then I was like, maybe that's just the way I play. Maybe there's nothing wrong with me playing this way. It's just everybody has a different style. So I love those survival playthroughs because I typically play the very beginning of the game very often, repeatedly. I do tend to play Dragonborn playthroughs. That's one thing that's always kind of the same about mine. No matter how it is, they're always going to end up being the Dragonborn and learning some shouts. I have a lot of admiration for the people who can stick to one playthrough, stick to one character. I've always been like that. Even in like when I play MMOs or anything, I make alternate characters all the time. It's just the way I play too. It's, you know, some people look at it like, how do you play like that? Like, how can you enjoy it? And I'm like, this is just how I enjoy the game. Like, that's the thing about games. I think people got very serious about it for a while. The whole, like, I mean, it still exists, but the, kind of the hardcore gamer thing. That ain't me, that's for sure. except for sometimes I do like it's so weird. I think people engage with games in so many different ways. The only thing I ever have a problem with is when people say that there's like a right way and a wrong way to play. Because to me it's like, no, like any way you enjoy it, that's the whole point. So if I have anything negative to say about hardcore gaming, it's just that idea of there's one way to play, and if you're not doing it, you're not doing it right. 22B3 in chat. I did what you're talking about for the longest time. Something I've started doing a couple months ago is, even though I keep restarting playthroughs, I keep the same character throughout them, if that makes sense. Like, even though I've restarted my playthrough like 4 times in the last 2 weeks, I'm still playing as Arya the Breton. That's cool. So you'll kind of like, you'll go through it and you'll kind of play through the start and really get like a good feeling for like, okay, this is the way this character is. These are the ways they interact with the world. Man, these Oblivion zombies were good. Oh, they're so creepy. Still see the tune chat. I've always used the shipwreck start. I use Frostfall, and that makes the ocean a death trap, so I try to leapfrog on ice blocks to get to shore, but I always end up falling into the water, eventually freezing to near death, and being picked up by a random event introduced by the Campfire mod, when you die by frostbite. It's by far my favorite way to start a new game for years now. Yeah, I think I played that one, where like, if you die, you get like, sent to a random place. Like, you'll get sent to, like, somebody picks you up on a horse and they take you to like a random city. I really like that. I really appreciate those kind of like alternative to quick load mods where like it's not just about like quick loading the game, but you also get to just kind of have that alternative. Change a few of these things. Sometimes the kits can be really specific about the way the seams work and like the rotations of stuff. just gotta open my door because I sit in my like office room and it gets pretty warm in here after I think we're 2 hours in. Be right back. There we go. It's so much cooler outside. This office, I live in the basement suite of a house, and the heater is like right in the other room over there. And so after a little while, it just gets super warm in here. Soul Stealer 2 in chat saying, one of those events had a stranger pick me up and place me next to a campfire with a note in my pocket. He took what money I had left, but wished me luck and hoped I'd find what I was looking for in such a polite manner. That will stick with me forever. That's so funny. Especially the, like... I think that's so funny, the idea of, like, the, that kind of polite vagabond. Like, he took all your money, but at least he left you a note saying that he did that. I guess especially if you're just starting out too. Maybe it's just like they take a few dollars, they don't take everything. I really love how, from the sounds of it, like that's a very full event. So like they have the note, it moves you character. It's this, I love that because you have the note that's like, you get to keep it with you and everything. That's a great way to start a character. Because there's so many things you could do. You could be like, all right, you know, my life was saved this one time. Now I want to pay it back so that other people cannot get lost in the frozen cold like I did. 2TB3 asking, you have a lot of good questions, by the way. I really appreciate the questions you ask, because I don't know why, like I've tried to do that for other people too, like asking really thought-provoking questions and stuff, and I think I'm getting better at it, but I'm still like, you're inspiring because I'm trying to do the same thing you're doing for other streamers when I watch them. But your question this time, 2TB3, is there a small quest, detail, etc. about Skyrim that has stuck with you? Let me think. I'm trying to think of my favorite quests. I'm gonna think about that one for a second, because I want to give a good answer to that. I think my answer to that, so the question of like, is there a small quest, detail, or something that has stuck with you? I think for that, like, the thing that I love the most about like different quests and like the details that they have on them is when you find a quest that kind of shows you that these characters and the way they're written isn't just to make characters for a game, but it's also to create these companions for people, and to create this art form that is an interactive art form that we can see it, and we can go like, this teaches me about my world and how people relate to each other and how I can relate with others. And I'm trying to think of like a specific quest to like point that out in. And for some reason my mind goes towards, in Oblivion there was a quest where you enter into a painting. That is hands down my absolute favorite quest, and it's not necessarily like a small quest, but I thought it was very interesting because, for one, it takes place in Breville, and Breville in Oblivion is kind of this town that is beset by a lot of like poverty and a lot of things like that. Was it Leowin? I might be getting that one wrong. But there was somebody who was essentially trapped in a dream, and I think that was I don't know, there was something about it that just kind of sometimes you see a quest and it kind of hits you different, and you're just like, wow, like that, there's something about this that teaches me about reality, and teaches me about kind of how people interact with fantasy, really, and interact with art and things that we create, and this idea that sometimes people kind of just want to like lose themselves for a while in something, and that's all good. Like you can do that, and it can be a good idea to do that. I think it gives us context. Art, games are modern art, and I think they're a fantastic way of learning about our reality. We live in a different reality. We live in a way different reality than people did before us, and I think games are one excellent way of exploring that reality and learning about it. And I don't know, every now and then you find something, and it doesn't necessarily make sense to everybody, but it hits you different, right? And you're just like, oh wow, like there's something, I just learned something very almost deeply spiritual from this thing that's supposed to be just mundane, right? It's like it's like almost like those moments where like maybe you're walking down the street and somebody tells you like, oh, your shoe's untied, and you're just like, whoa man, my shoe is untied. And it's completely maybe this mundane thing, but for some reason it makes these things align in your brain where you're just like, now I get it. Even this thing where you're just like, might be completely unrelated, but it just ends up being one of those pieces of a puzzle. Soul Stealer in chat talking about the that start where or when in Campfire, when like you fall unconscious due to frost, and that note, Soul Stealer says, the note, he said it was to cover his own troubles he was going through. He could have robbed me and left me to die, but didn't. I think that's so interesting, like that idea of a character that they help you, but for some reason, like, they have their own troubles they're dealing with. They don't completely give you, it's not like a free ticket kind of thing. It's like that vagabond kind of thing. the chaotic good. They do something good for you, but they also pick your pocket. It's like the idea of like the Fae, where they help you out. They're good folk. You know, forest people, or you can call them fairies. But they also have their own peculiarities. And they're there to protect. Alright, so I've been working on this little piece here, because I want to have something very similar to this, and I just had to mesh a few pieces together. We go straight, then we're going to have a door here, I think. Okay. So, this piece, Imperial Room, it's going to be an inner corner. I think in terms of Skyrim, the kinds of quests that I play a lot, I actually really like the procedural quests, and I think that's really funny. Like in Oblivion, I like the stories and how you kind of you continue on and stuff, and you follow like a very specific story that was really designed. But in Skyrim, one of my favorite things is just like I almost play it like a roguelike game where you just kind of you enjoy it however you want to play it. Actually, when I played Morrowind, I played it a couple of years ago. I was doing another playthrough, and the way that I played it was really like I just did like the houses. I think it was one of the houses, and followed that storyline for a while until I was like, all right, it's time to turncoat and betray them. I think it was like Haslalu? Is Haslalu the rich one? Whichever one the rich one was. I stuck around with it for a while until I think I got to a certain point, and I was like, all right, now I'm gonna change around, and I'm not gonna follow it to the completion. I think that's such a fun thing to do with any guild in the game, because you do have totally the freedom to like to just change completely. With the Mages Guild, you can just be like, yeah, you know, I'm not gonna be a mage anymore. I've learned all you guys can teach me. I'm gonna go off and be my own now. I think it's fun to do that. I like to inject drama into my games. Just play it a little different. It's fun to be wanted in like one hold. Silsila2 is saying in chat, I turned something as mundane as the word wall radiant quest for High Hrothgar into spiritual training run for my character using the Thundershot mod. Nice. I think that's so cool how, like, I love that with the... I actually really enjoy the storyline about, like, the words and the language of, like, the dragons. I think that's so cool. it's such an interesting thing because I think they introduced that. Maybe they had notes for it before Skyrim, but I think that really was created by Skyrim. Just that idea of like the humans, they do have kind of a magic. It's not like a magic, but like they have this unique magical thing about them that they're able to do, and it's part of kind of their history. I think that was really an interesting thing that they had for that. 22B3 asking, did you play the previous Elder Scrolls games different than you play Skyrim? I think so, yeah. And I think that a lot of that is kind of the way that the games are also kind of designed differently. It's interesting because they're all Elder Scrolls, and they all take place in the same universe. But I think that all of the Elder Scrolls games are profoundly different games. Even though they have the same lore and the same characters and things, the gameplay is... I mean, it's all RPGs and stuff, so it you know, at first glance, I think a lot of people, you know, think that they're very similar games, and they are in many ways, but they're also profoundly different in the way that they play so differently. Because I know in Oblivion and in Morrowind, you choose your class, you choose your birth sign, compared to in Skyrim, where you kind of just end up being who you are based on how you build yourself. So it's not about starting the game and being who you say you are. It's more about just you end up being who you are, which in Skyrim, in most cases, is a stealth archer. And there ain't nothing wrong with that. Because stealth archers make the world go round. Alright, almost done this little piece here. I just have one last area. I wonder if I can place a hall in here. Almost. Oh yeah. Soul Stealer in chat. I prefer one-handed swords with magic, like a battle mage. Yes, 100%. That's how I play my games nowadays. That's my absolute favorite way. The stealth archer is always tempting, but I prefer to play. Actually, I love playing illusion. Illusion's a lot of fun because you get to do the fury spell and just get the enemies to fight each other while like you watch, and then once you see that somebody's about to win, you kind of start engaging. I think that's a great way to play. You also end up getting really rich when you play an illusion game because in Skyrim you level based off of like how much damage you do, and so if enemies just keep dying and you don't really have to do much damage, you end up getting a lot of levels pretty quick, or you end up getting a lot of gold faster than you level. And then destruction's a whole lot of fun too, just launching those. I like the ice spikes, those are my favorite. Fireball is fun too, because you get the big explosion. Oh, this is interesting. I don't know if I can use this, but there is a hole. So that's very similar to the holes that existed back in Oblivion, I think. Is that a double side? It is. But it's kind of round. I wish we had like a flat one. I'll stick with what I have. I'm actually kind of on the towards the end of this dungeon, actually. I mean, not the end of the whole dungeon, because it's going to take me a lot more time to finish it up and polish it. You know, that'll take a while too. But I'm almost done designing all the different rooms. That's always a big step. Once you have all the rooms, that's when I think the most fun part of level design starts. Because then you get to tweak around the lighting, get to tweak around the decoratives. That's my favorite part. But that being said, what I'm doing right now is the most challenging part for sure, building out these rooms. Because it takes the longest. I just noticed 2TB3 in chat saying, gonna have to disagree with you there, boss, you and your sneaky Bowie nonsense. I mostly think it's just funny to reference the stealth archer meme that went around for a long time. It is definitely the way that I played. My first playthrough in Skyrim was for sure a stealth archer. It's also because I enjoy playing Bosmer too. So Bosmer, you get some perks to like stealth, I think. You get a perk to archery for sure. We add some secrets to this place off screen to keep those of us watching on your toes. It might be fun. I think one of the things that I really enjoy, like personally for my enjoyment of the stream, is the value of kind of showing the whole dungeon, front to end, and showing every single part of it. And so I wouldn't be against showing I wouldn't be against introducing something that I don't show you guys. But I do want to show the whole thing. How creating the whole level goes. Plus, you guys will probably forget. I'm sure you'll play it and you'll be like, wow, this is that level that I saw getting designed. And it'll still feel unique, I think. I wouldn't mind adding a few adventurers or something. It might be kind of fun. Is this a load door? No, it's not a load door. Let's put a load door here. There we go, this one. Here's the load door. So this is a door that goes into another cell, which is another level. To TB3, what's something you'd like to see in Elder Scrolls 6? Maybe something you think should have been in Skyrim. One thing, I was actually thinking about this, and it has to do with the races in Skyrim. One thing that I would love to see is a kind of like a slider that allows you to play as like half elves, or even like kind of like mixing different attributes and things together. Because I think one thing that I wish was a little bit different, you know, just in terms of like gameplay flexibility and stuff, is the ability to play as like, you know, maybe because Bretons are a thing, right? Bretons are kind of half elf, half human, and I would love to be able to play as like a quarter elf, or somebody who's like a Nord, but they're also they have a Bosmer background. I'd love to have that be not just a selection of like which race you want to play as, but like literally like you can choose like I want to be like 20% orc and like 80% this. I think that would be really interesting. I don't know if they would do that, because I don't know if it fits into the way that they've explored or they've explained their fantasy races and stuff. But I think it'd be cool, if it's not in the actual game, I'd love to see that in a mod, because I just love playing as like these characters with these interesting backgrounds. Soul Stealer 2 saying in chat, I feel like Beyond Skyrim as a completed project will be the true endgame for my character, the last chapter in his story, one final adventure. I think as a completed project, it would be really cool, because then like literally, you can go to Elsewhere, you can go to like Somerset Isles, you can go to like anywhere you want to go. Here, one sec, I'll be right back. Alright, my girlfriend was just asking if she can come in. She's just gonna hang out, do her thing.
Hello, I'm not feeling great, so I look like a hobo.
We just got like nine viewers right now.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're not interrupting.
Okay.
Alright, so I think that this area is just about done. So I have that area, and then this area. Let's see what's behind here. So if I just go out here. Curious to see how these attract. Oh, cool. So it's kind of symmetrical. So each of these goes into Shrine of the Crusader, but they're just on opposite sides. So there's not necessarily a reason to have both of these. I might just collapse one of them, because it's kind of redundant. There's no extra treasure or extra enemies. Maybe there is extra treasure. Is that treasure? Nope. There's no extra treasure. So yeah, that's redundant. So I'm going to change that. Oh, I just have to finish a little bit more. I think yeah, Soul Stealer 2 chat saying it's going to be real interesting with alternate start mods with Beyond Skyrim, as some people will never even set foot in Skyrim. That is so cool. I am so stoked for that, and I'm so happy that I've been I'm sure in the alternate start Live Another Life, they will for sure, somebody will mod in some alternate starts for Beyond Skyrim. I'm stoked that, like, being somebody who also, I've created my own alternate start mod, I'm 100% planning on making like an add-on to that mod, which is for the Beyond Skyrim stuff, so that you can start in, the different holds, the different everything. It's gonna be super cool. But that being said, like, there is, quite a lot of work ahead of us still on the Beyond Skyrim project, even within just one province, right? Most people will look at Cyrodiil as being the project that probably has the most attention and the most people involved. But it still has a lot of time left. It's going to take us a lot of time. And one thing that I try to do with these streams is kind of bring up that awareness that, like, it definitely, it's going to take us quite a while still. And if you are interested in contributing, there's tons of space. There's a lot of space for you to get involved in this stuff. Like, even if you're just starting to learn the Christian kit, or you haven't even yet, and you're thinking of, hey, maybe this would be an interesting hobby. There's tons of space. There's not only space, but like, bless you.
Thank you.
There's so many opportunities to do things within the project to help it become complete. So yeah, if you're sitting there and you're like, oh man, I can't wait until it's done. One thing you could totally do is help us finish it. Because there's all kinds of different ways to contribute. I think we have quality assurance too. That's one of the things, is just going through and testing some stuff out whenever anybody has things they need tested. There's tons of stuff. Everybody's always getting better at it too, which is really cool. Because I think right now I'm doing level design. I'm also starting to get into the implementation team a little bit, which is like the people who help set up NPCs and things like that. Because I have some experience doing that kind of stuff as well. It's just kind of, you start at any level, and there's stuff to do all around. There's tons of level design stuff too. Alright, almost done this thing. So, I'm just gonna name this Exit Right. This one's gonna be called Exit Left. Okay, and I'm gonna take these two, and we're gonna go back to Vanua 2. I think I have half an hour left. I'm gonna try and, I wouldn't say speed run. I don't think it'll take me that. I don't think I have to try and race it finish, but I'm gonna try my very best to have that part finished. Because it's very close. This part here, that part there. So I'm going to collapse the right wall. So exit right isn't going to go anywhere. This is exit left. That is going to teleport to Vanua 2. No, that's wrong. Vanua 3. Yeah, exit left. Okay. Perfect. Oh, this is exciting. I've almost completed. It's going to happen for sure. I am going to finish the last parts of this. Of the structure, the main structure from Oblivion. And then, over the next episode or two, I'm going to collapse everything. Soul Sealer 2. I've been thinking about dipping my nose into modding maybe a retexture of the mourner's hat to be a better do-rag or something. Yeah, there's so many different things you can do. Retextures are a great way to start to learn more about the modeling and like the textures and stuff. Retextures are awesome because you'll get a lot of feedback too. Textures are something where like you can usually, a lot of people will look at it, and a lot of people download, like they love having textures for everything, even if they don't use them all in their game. They love the idea of being able to have that. There's a lot of really interesting stuff you can do. I guess it depends on like, if, maybe think of it in this way, where if you continued modding for, like let's say 3 years or something, what kind of area would you want to get into? Like, Would you be into doing models and textures? Would you want to, like, what would you like to do if you saw yourself in the context of, like, 3 years, once you've gotten really good at this stuff and you're able to, make your imagination come true. What kind of area would you want to be in? Yeah, I agree. I think that I love I love those, like, bandanas that just go around the forehead. I think those are really cool. I think they add a lot of character because you can use them. I love circlets and stuff like that. I think those are some of the coolest armor pieces because it doesn't necessarily, like, hide the character. It's sort of just like an accessory that kind of explains a little bit more about them. Oh, 2TB3 saying immersive armors by Hoth Trooper adds a few bandanas to the game. That's cool. I've used that mod for a while, and maybe I just didn't notice. Or maybe it was so immersive that I thought they were in the game the whole time. Alright, so that's that corner. So it kind of collapsed it, so you can't walk through there. The other side, I get to build one more room. One last room. And then every room is complete. Kind of copy this part. I'm going to trim it back a bunch. It's a good start. Because I kind of need... Okay, I'm going to put this back here for a bit. This is going to be a little bit complicated, I think. I'm going to try and get it done this stream. So it's kind of a side door, but it's at the top, so it's not something I can directly add in the kit. It's a little bit different. And try putting it like that. That's decent. Yeah, okay, that'll work. Like that. Ooh, okay, there we go. That looks good. And then I'm going to take this and just make a little staircase of my own. Free stairs. There we go. That's what I want. Just using the top bit of the stairs. Just like that. There we go. Cool. So there's some stairs that go into this room. Set up a few more later. Okay, and then this part here is here. So now I have to go back to Oblivion. 2TB3. One last question for me tonight. What artistic talents do you have outside of modding? I do modding. I've done some Photoshop. None of my artistic talents are professional. A lot of it is just kind of stuff that I do in my free time. I do photography. Actually, photography was something I studied in university, and I really enjoyed that. It taught me a lot that I actually applied to lighting in Skyrim modding. So yeah, in terms of that, like, I do a lot of stuff that's kind of creative. I consider like programming to be kind of creative. You can be very creative about programming. But yeah, I think it's really cool. The thing I love about art is that it is super enjoyable. It is something that you can use to kind of communicate. I love the idea of like putting it out there and showing people it. I think that is such a big part of art for me, is communication. And yeah, I think it's just so cool. I love the idea that we just do it for fun. We do it because we enjoy it and because we want to share things with people. I'm so stoked. I am, as soon as this is done, honestly, after the stream, because I'm so stoked that this is finished, I will probably have myself a bowl of ice cream. I went grocery shopping today. I only go grocery shopping like every week or every 2 weeks. Usually every 2 weeks, actually. And when I do, it's like, yes, all that good food. Whenever you finally get the grocery, after like waiting for a while, it's like you get the good food that you love, rather than like, you know, those last days before you actually go out to get groceries. You're eating like gruel and like oatmeal and stuff. It's not your favorite foods. But then you go grocery shopping.
Eating gruel.
I was eating oatmeal earlier on.
Well, that's your. We have bread for toast. You chose to make yourself suffer.
Maybe I did. But it's so rewarding. Once you finally get groceries, you're like, yes, I have all the good food again. All my favorite stuff. So that's what I'm gonna do after the stream. probably gonna actually, I'm gonna eat some ice cream. I got these mint chips too, like these mint chocolate chips, and I am going to break them into little pieces. I'm gonna put them into that ice cream, and I'm gonna sit back and actually I'm gonna watch a something like this. Actually, it's very similar to this, but they're playing a game. They're not doing level design, so it's much more entertaining. Whereas this is almost documentary is what I'm doing here. Kind of showing you guys it's the process. This is how the magic happens. It's very slow and it takes a while, but it is magic. But that other stream I'm gonna watch, it's for a game called Cataclysm. The streamer is a guy named Tomato, like the is tomato a fruit or vegetable? That's the name, and he's a pretty funny guy, and he's playing this post-apocalyptic game. So I'll be enjoying that after this. It's always nice. I used to think I'm introverted. I don't know if I am. Cookie Owl, is it normal for Twitch to randomly change the pitch of the stream? The pitch? Like, am I getting high-pitched? Yeah, because my best bet for that would be like, my best guess would be maybe related to the way that it's like buffering or something. Oh my god. I think I've done it. Is it? Do they match? Oh my god. Because if this matches... It matches. Oh my god. Vanua. It's not completely finished. But the most grueling part is finished. I think it's... Oh my god, you guys. It's actually... Yes! The pieces... Oh, almost. I just need to do a few things here. Yeah. Who knows? Sometimes there's always those glitches that happen. And it might be because the music itself as well is this is a community music. I want to figure out if I can ever get like a SoundCloud thing, but I don't know if that's possible to get like a SoundCloud plugin. I think it would have to be I'd have to listen to stuff from Spotify, and I have my playlist on SoundCloud. It's all the community music. I'll post it in the chat and then also on Notepad, just for anybody on YouTube. This is what I'm listening to, if you're curious about it. A lot of it is Elder Scrolls community music. So this one, for instance, is called Ebonheart Night. I'll bring it over here. So this one is, where is it? Ebonheart Night version 1.4 Skywind. So this is a song from a mod, and yeah, this playlist has a ton of music like this, which is all kinds of music that I found around from these big modding projects like Beyond Skyrim. All right, I am just gonna collapse the heck out of this last area here. I'm gonna pull some of these things. These are some good rubble. exchange that with walls. I just want to box this area, and I'm thinking this might be an area where you might fight a lich. I think it'd be an excellent place to fight a lich. But those would be the kind of things that I'll figure out over the next few episodes. I expect there will be at least 2 more of these, because I have to do a few things. I have to do nav meshing. I have to do enemy placement. I have to do decorations, loot, stuff like that. Boxing out the rooms is probably the thing that takes the longest. Yeah. So see what you. I'm happy I finally got a chance to catch the stream live. I usually watch afterwards, but I got off for work early because of an upset stomach. Feel better now thanks to this. Yes! I'm stoked. I am happy that my mod was able to help you out. That is awesome, and I'm glad that you're feeling better. All right, it's gonna be a whole lot of rubble here. I think it's really cool. I've seen a few people who they start with watching the YouTube videos, and then at some point they get the time to come live, or even if you don't, like, that's totally cool. I really appreciate the support on YouTube as well. I think that's fantastic, and I don't want to pressure anybody into feeling like they need to do anything really. I'm just trying to provide these to, you know, make some nice, positive, relaxing content for everyone to enjoy. This is cool. Oh my god. I love this part of the dungeon. This is my literal favorite, is when I get to transition from doing all of that like basic building, and then I start to just get to do the stuff that I find the most fun, which is just like adding decorations and like things like that. Especially because I think this is like the 5th or 6th episode. Like it takes a long time, especially considering like each of these episodes is maybe, I think there's been 3 hours for each one. So a lot of work goes into these. It takes a while. I think that's 15 hours. 15 hours of streaming so far on this dungeon. It's been good. I've actually, because when I started this project, it was kind of, I was still dipping my toes into testing out streaming and seeing how that was like. I'm really enjoying it. It's been a lot of fun. One of the things I really enjoy is just the people who come by and chat. It's such a pleasure to talk to you, and very much enjoy it. Ooh, this is cool. Okay, then I have to copy these things, because I have to put it on the other side too. This side's going to be collapsed. And I looked at copied everything. Kukiel asking Chuck, do you do or would you ever consider doing any overworld design, or do you stick to dungeons? I have done some overworld stuff, not in Beyond Skyrim project, but just in my own mods, and I like it. I think it's pretty fun. I think there's a lot of things you can do with overworld stuff. I've actually, very recently, I've started to learn more about how to do the train, and I think that train is really cool because it's really, I think the train is what made Oblivion. That overworld stuff is completely like the heart and soul of the game, where I think the world and out in the wilderness of Oblivion, it's one of the things I enjoyed the most, was traveling around, you know, on horseback and getting to see the countryside. And I would definitely consider starting with that stuff too. I know there's a lot of work we have to do. So I mean, if you're interested in checking out how to contribute, that's another way you can totally contribute, is helping out with the train. And if there is work that needs to be done on the train, I would be interested in doing that stuff too. It's kind of fun. The most that I do with the project, I did some stuff around a dungeon. I was working on one called Fanaka Sakul, and it's a dungeon that's like actually right outside the Imperial City. And that one, they let me do some stuff on the outside, which was pretty fun. I got to play some zombies around. It's very interesting premise for that dungeon, because it's kind of like this dungeon that's very close to a town, and the idea is that the zombies were wandering out of the town, and so that's what the hero needs to do. That's what the player needs to do, is clear out the zombies, because they were actually wandering out of this town or out of the dungeon and into the town. So through the two, I wanted to know, who's your favorite follower in Skyrim, vanilla or modded? Mine is Serana. I'm a sucker for Dark Elf, those good and girls. And those fangs, I use Seranaholic mod. Serana's a big one for a lot of people. Me, honestly, I am a very simple person. And my favorite, I don't know why I don't even know their name. It's probably because, like, I've been saying a few times, like, when I play Skyrim, I play the beginning, like, a lot. And I tend not to get super far into the game. I'm gonna look the character up though. They're one of the vanilla followers. And you find them in the Huntsman, Drunken Huntsman, Janassa. Yeah, that's my favorite follower. I'm very simple about it. Like, just this one right here. There's just something she says which is hilarious. I wish they had it here, but it's sort of like she talks about like the art of murder and stuff, and just like Dunmer, you know, like dark elf stuff. I think they're I don't know, I like this follower a lot. They're not a deep follower, they don't have a lot to them, but they just make me happy when I find them and I'm like, yes. My favorite follower for recommending to people, though, is lately is this one, Vilya. So Vilya is really interesting because Terry Pratchett, who a lot of people know from like the Discworld books, Terry Pratchett helped do some of the writing for Vilya in Oblivion. So Vilya in Skyrim is that version. They took Vilya from Oblivion and they brought her over into Skyrim. Yeah. Cookie Owl's just like, what? Yeah, Terry Pratchett contributed some writing to some mods for Oblivion before he passed away. And so in terms of, those little tidbits of modding history, yeah, Terry Pratchett was a contributor to Vilya. Let me see if I can find anywhere where they mention that. Let's go Pratchett. There we go. See, look at this. So also, here we go. So more than 50 lines of chatter dialogue written for Vilya by Discworld author Sir Terry Pratchett. So it's a thing. That's one of the things that's very interesting, very unknown, but is a fact about Skyrim modding. Is Terry Pratchett was one of us. He played back in Oblivion, because he's a little bit older, and that's when he was into modding. I just love that Kooky Owl in chat was just like all caps, what? But yeah, definitely recommend Vilya. Check her out, because I think that is one of the real gems of modding history. And yeah, so it's come around to the 3-hour mark for the stream, so I'm going to start wrapping it up. I had a blast. This was really cool, and I'm so stoked. I love leaving off a stream at a good point where I've finished boxing out the whole dungeon. All of the rooms are made. I will 100% back up this file after I turn off the stream, because there was a whole lot done. I managed to do... There's a lot of fun talking too. I really enjoyed chatting with you guys. That was awesome. And thank you for coming. I really appreciate chatting with everybody who comes by. And yeah, so which area? I think it was this area. I did a lot of building. So over here, I'll probably do some extra, add-ons and stuff like that to make it a little bit more depth-y over the next few episodes. But for now, we have this room here. You go up, there's a hallway with some statues in it. There's another room with a few other little tidbits there. Go through this cave, and then you go through another hallway, and you finally end up at the boss area, which is right over here. Just get that stuff to load again. All right, and then yeah, so it's just loading. Next stream probably going to be next week, I think, again. Yeah, because it's the 17th, and I just want to let you guys know I did receive enough Patreon support to do this for the next month as well. So next month I'm very likely going to be doing another stream every week. So probably going to happen on Wednesdays. I think I might start at 5 PST from now on, because that is actually a fairly nice time for me to start, because then it doesn't interfere, because I have to work during the daytime, and then around 5 I get to transition from my IT job over to this stuff. So I think 5 on Wednesdays is probably going to be it for the next while. So then just another thing as well is just I'm trying to kind of get some money from the modding community towards that Color for Change charity. I think it would be a really interesting thing if we as a modding community can make some specific donations towards Black Lives. I think that's really cool, and I would love to be part of that community that does that. Yeah, I think most people can afford donating $5 or $10. It makes a big difference for people, and yeah, so consider that. And have a good week. Have a great time. I hope you take the time to relax when you need it. Other than that, kind of push, because we're making a lot of changes in our society right now, and I think it's important to be somebody who's taking initiative, who's being active, and trying to bring us closer together and stuff. I think those are some of the most fantastic things a human can do. So, yeah. Thanks a lot. I've had a great time, and I'll be keeping doing this, next week and likely next month as well. So, have a great time. Goodbye.